Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and happy Sunday, everyone. Of course, we're getting right back into the Snake Oil Salesman series, and we're going to begin to finish up a little bit here on the history sides of things and get to a little bit of show and tell. But before we do, I wanted to go ahead and read over this article that had been published all the way back in the year of our Lord 1998. By saying it was so long ago just makes me feel so damn old. Oh my god. Like, you guys don't know. You don't know. But anyways, before we do so, folks, real quick, disclaimer, anything that we cover throughout the duration of the Snake Oil Salesman series, you're going to be able to find right there in the description box. So should you like to deep dive the subject yourself, you're absolutely going to be able to. And also, folks, trigger warnings real quick. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. I do use profanity, and some of the topics we do cover on this channel can be particularly triggering. So if you got a child that is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision, very much advised, alright? Alright, let's go to where we left off. Peddling Snake Oil by Joe Nickel. Snake oil. The expression has become synonymous with a quack remedy, but questions about the origins of the term provide the basis for an interesting investigation. Although considered quintessentially American, patent medicines actually originated in England. The recipient of the first royal patent for a medical compound is unknown, but the second was granted to Richard Stoughton's elixir in 1712. By the mid-18th century, an incomplete list included 202 proprietary medicines, those protected by patent or registration. Relatively few of the ready-made medicines were actually patented, which required disclosure of their ingredients, but rather had their brand name registered. Nevertheless, the term patent medicine has become a generic term for all self-prescribed nostrums and cure-alls. Kind of interesting how they do it, right? Let me show you something. Now, these do actually have benefit. I'm sure you've seen them advertised online. The little grooms, right? Now, something that you will see a lot. An advertisement for the grooms and stuff like it. Try to get it closer so you all can read. You read that? Gut health, energy, immunity, recovery, beauty, cognition. That's what they mean by cure-alls. And they're still doing it, even selling supplements. Now, these actually do have nutritional value, so I actually do use them. They help me quite a bit. But I can promise you, it does not fulfill all the promises you just read on that packaging. It's a tactic that they literally took straight down from the time period that we are talking about. The cure-alls, take this supplement and all your dreams will come true. Just saying it's all. Now, I do want to double check something real quick, guys, if you don't mind me just kind of putting mute on the mic real quick. I want to make sure we're not rereading something that we already went over. So hold on just a brief second here. Thank you. I was just wanting to make sure, you guys, that you were able to go ahead and not have me reread something to you that I have already read. I just don't really want you guys to be going through that. So, back to where we were, right? There we go. Alright, so where we left off. Shipments of patent medicines were halted by the Revolutionary War, and American entrepreneurs took the opportunity to meet the demand. Post-war nationalism and cheaper prices of non-important medicines helped American vendors maintain their lead over the English suppliers in Muncie, 1970. Now, I could see how that would happen, how after we became our own country, because we pissed off England, which was our primary supplier of medicines, doctors of the time, that we would feel the need to start producing our own homegrown. And I can see where that will cut off into grifters, because every industry has its grifters, let's be honest here. If there is a service that is needed, somebody has already created a scam around it. Believe me, I've looked. Morbid curiosity does lead me down some very interesting rabbit holes. Among the notable patent medicine men and women were Perry Davis, whose painkiller became famous in the 1849 cholera epidemic. It was subsequently spread worldwide by missionaries who used it as a cure-all for heathen sufferers. Lydia E. Pinkman, whose portrait on her vegetable compound, first marketed in 1875, made her the most widely recognized American woman of her day. The Kilmer brothers, Andral and Jonas, who moved to Binghamton in New York in 1879, were soon selling swamp root, kidney, and liver medicine and other family remedies from a palatial 8-story building. The trio of Doc Healy, Texas Charlie Bigelow, and Nevada Ned Oliver, who originated the Kickapoo Indian Medicine Company in 1881, and Miss Violet Blossom, who as Lotus Blossom ran a medicine show with her husband in the early 1900s and became known as the Queen of the Pitch Doctors. Holbrook, 1959. That's that thing. Medicine and sales. Medicine and sales. Well, what's the difference between regular sales and the scammers? Scammers are more desperate. They are the, absolute most dog with a bone. Your worst experience with a second. You get what I'm saying. The used car salesman, right? Second-hand used car salesman dude. They push worse than he does. There's a desperation, a pushing. I mean, you do get that from some of the regular advertisements, but the way it is presented is as if it was a suggestion and this is what it can do for you. The pitch is like what we see in some of these pseudo cure-alls contain the type of desperation that mirrors what I was going through when I was still doing call center sales for Wayfair. But I'm autistic. I'm not really good at that. And the more desperate I get, the worse I get at it. And the more I begin forgetting things. So, I would not have been a traveling medicine woman, that's for sure. I can't pitch to save my soul unless it is in regards with the things I actually give a shit about. Everything else, it's like my brain has a cutoff. It knows what I'm good at. It knows what I care about. Everything else is just shut off. At least that's what it feels like sometimes. Among the most fascinating peddlers were a one-time preacher, Fletcher Sutherland, and his 7 daughters, whose hair had a collective length of 37 feet. When the young ladies performed their vocal and instrumental concerts at such venues as the 1881 Atlanta Exposition, and by 1884 Barnum and Bailey's Greatest Show on Earth, Fletcher Sutherland shrewdly observed that the girls' long hair was a greater attraction than their musical ability. This led him to create the 7 Sutherland Sisters Hair Grower, a concoction of alcohol, vegetable oils, and water. When the fifth daughter, Naomi, died unexpectedly in 1893, business was so good that to keep up appearances, the remaining sisters hired a replacement. Goodness. Overall, their hair grower and related products brought in more than $2.75 million over a 38-year period. But the septet squandered it on an opulent lifestyle that included each having a personal maid to comb her luxurious tresses. The medicine peddlers used a number of tricks and stunts. And a lot of those old patent medicine shows, that stuff that made you happy, welcome to alcohol. It will make you think that it cures all kinds of things until you wake up the next morning. That I can tell you. The larger traveling shows employing advancement to herald their arrival entered town with circus-like fanfare, typically with a band leading the procession of wagons. Skits and other diversions were used to attract audiences who eventually retreated to the lecture, which when medicine shows expanded into radio became commercial. Assistants who moved through the crowds were often garbed as Quakers to lend an air of moral respectability. In other words, they would infiltrate crowds. This is something that is still controversial to this day, to flood people intentionally, that you paid specifically to be there to kind of bluff your numbers. We're seeing that now. It's being argued on the news every night. Remember what they were saying about both rallies. Nothing really changes under the sun, does it? Gotta give it to Solomon. A major component of those tonics, cures, biters, and other nostrums was alcohol. During the temperance era, the patent medicines were often slipped with a wink for medicinal purposes. Of course. It's kind of the same way in certain states when, before they made weed legal, they would let it out, wink, for those it was prescribed to. Again, nothing ever changes, does it? Leading the promoters of Old Kaufman's Great Sulfur Bitters to advise the public, never use cheap rum drinks which are called medicine. Oh my god. As I've been one of those chicks that's had 1 rum, 2 rum, 3 rum, 4. Yeah, it's not medicine. But, well, you actually enjoy it, but the next morning you're going to hate yourself and your life. Believe me. I love that line. Interestingly, the manufacturers never felt obliged to disclose the alcohol content of their product. Of course not. Holbrook 1959, 159. The alcohol as well as the placebo effect explains why nostrums often won testimonials from their purchasers who felt better and so believed that they had been helped rather than victimized. In time, worthless cure-alls came to be known as snake oil. One source asserts there is no such thing as snake oil, though many thousands of bottles containing stuff called snake oil were sold to gullible patrons of carnival sideshows in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Morris & Morris, 1988. Actually, real snake oil was prized for its supposed medicinal properties. In 1880s, for example, a newspaper article on a Pennsylvania man, a celebrated hunter, trapper, and snake tamer by the name of John Gear, told how he killed rattlesnakes and extracted oil from their bodies. The article stated this oil is very usable and sells readily for $1 an ounce. It is said to have great curative powers. Killing Snakes, 1880. I once saw a bottle in a private collection with a label which actually pinned snake oil, and that, if memory serves me, may be dated from the mid-19th century or even earlier. I would buy that just to have... I'm a sucker for history, okay? I would snap that up in a heartbeat if I saw that in one of my many trips to one of the flea markets. You have no idea. Because yes, it is horrible that they did those things, but it's a piece of history. In any event, a cowboy named Clark Stanley, who called himself the Rattlesnake King, sold a snake oil liniment that was reputedly good for man and beast. If it says good for man and beast, it's snake oil. Do not buy it, folks. Okay? In 1893, at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, Stanley is said to have held crowds spellbound. As dressed in colorful Western garb, he slaughtered hundreds of rattlesnakes, processing the juices into the cure-all. A circa 1890s advertisement described Stanley's snake oil as a wonderful pain-destroying compound. It was the strongest and best liniment known for the cure of all pain and lameness, to be used external only. It treated rheumatism, neuralgia, sciatica, lame back, lumbago, contracted muscles, toothache, sprains, and swellings, etc. Anything that tells you that it covers all of that, it's a lie. Do not spend your money. Come on. Pie in the sky is fun until it falls down and it hits you in the face. In fact, every liniment should be good. Promising immediate relief, it sold for 50 cents a bottle. Stanley claimed the secret recipe came from a Moqui Pueblo Indian medicine man. Everything back then, oh my god, recommended by a Native American man. We still do that. Remember, that was that whole 70s. Like, they do that constantly. Constantly. You ever go to a smoke shop and see some of the old Native American statues of a guy standing there smoking a pipe, advertising cigarettes? Because I do. My mom smoked when I was a kid. So we would go with her to the smoke shop and she would pick up her cigarettes and we would see those statues there as random collectibles inside these shops. So they've done that for a while. It provides a mystique that makes the hard sales pitch seem more believable to people of that time period. And strangely enough, even now, it's that idea of secret knowledge, secret something. But we'll get to that another day. That's a whole spiritual thing. That I study theology, that is not today's topic. Mainly because I'm fascinated. And not just Christian theology, like all of it. Anyways, let me get back to what I'm doing here. Reportedly, some Native Americans, including Choctaws, did treat rheumatism and other ills with applications as rattlesnake grease. In 1917, however, tests of a federally seized shipment of snake oil liniment revealed it to be mostly mineral oil containing about 1% fatty oil, thought to have been beef fat, along with some red pepper, probably to impart a soothing warmth to the skin, and possible traces of turpentine and camphor, perhaps to provide a suitable medicinal smell. Turpentine? Are you trying to feel better or kill yourself? The bottle shown in the accompanying photograph, a gift from the author skeptic Robert Price of Bloomfield, Connecticut, from one of Stanley's many imitators. While the front of the embossed bottle reads known as snake oil, the sides inform that it is Miller's antiseptic oil sold by the Herb Juice Medicine Co. The exact date is unknown, but the bottle was produced by an automatic glass blowing machine, which means it was manufactured after the turn of the century. See Muncie 1970-33. I've seen very similar bottles up at Silver Dollar City in the theme park. They have a traditional glass blower there. I know, he does it out in the open, you can watch him work, and yes, they have several bottles, they can make bottles like this a lot. So, another imitator, probably inspired by the 1909 centennial of the 16th president's birth, called his product Lincoln Oil. As indicated by a handbill in my collection, it was supposedly worked from head to toe, curing toothache and corns alike. Yeah, anybody who tells you that is selling you a lie, folks. I don't know what else to tell you. Do not know what else to tell you. Oh, we are almost done. Good, good. All right. Was getting ready to end the video. Not quite yet, folks. Toward the close of the horse and buggy era, the sale of patent medicines had become immense, and so had the resulting victimization of the American public. A backlash came in the form of a campaign launched in 1905 by Collier's magazine against what it called the American fraud. Although the patent medicine lobby in the U.S. Congress proved potent, not unlike today's tobacco lobby, the tide was eventually turned and the Federal Food and Drug Act became law January the 1st, 1907. Of course, not all of the tonics and cures were deliberately bogus. Some derived from homespun remedies which by trial and error were sometimes found to be effective treatments. Books of recipes usually included a large section of home remedies. Marquardt, 1867. That is true, folks. I actually know a great deal of home remedies, which is why I always have tinctures. And my God, do they work. When they work, they really work. When you know what you're doing, when you've been taught by other people who know what they're doing, they work. But study, research, and know what you're doing. Just because something is similar does not mean it has the same effect. Okay? So you may try one kind of oil, it helps your joints, but you try another kind of oil and it doesn't. They're both oil, but that doesn't mean the oil contains the same things. Right? Come on now. Among my own ancestors were a couple of eastern Kentucky folk doctors, James Harrison Murphy and his wife Martha Baker, who relied on such medicines. Harry gathered herbs and roots for their remedies, which included a blood tonic that was brewed, sweetened, and mixed with alcohol, along with vermifuge and horehound tea. Martha administered the nostrums and offered other treatments such as lancing boils and setting broken bones. In addition to folk remedies, quasi-pharmaceutical receipts and recipes allegedly obtained from Indian medicine men, there were other sources of patent medicine formulas. Now, most of my information comes from those who learned. There is a particular spirituality out here in the Ozarks, with a heavy influence of when we were originally settled out here by the French, as well as a good dose of Native American herb lore. And not just that, but Irish herb lore. A lot of Irish immigrated into this state in particular back in the day. Probably has to do with the fact that our rolling hills really do kind of resemble somewhat that particular area. You get what I'm saying. Not exactly, but the way the hills roll, particularly out in the Branson area, yeah, you'd be surprised how similar it is. I would know. I've traveled. Anyways, sorry about that, folks. I was distracting my own self, my own memories. A lot of those remedies work, but be careful, because some of those older folks will try to trick you. And they tried to trick me a few times too while I was being taught, which I didn't much appreciate. And yeah, they kind of learned that let's not push Tiffany into meltdown behavior. It's not good. Some proprietors like Fletcher Sutherland seem to rely on sheer inspiration. By the way, what brought that on, folks, was just me getting frustrated that it wasn't working. What brought me out of it was them telling me, yeah, we're sorry, we're just messing with you. Miss J.H.R. Madison of Buffalo, New York went a step further, offering, according to an embossed bottle in my collection, clairvoyant remedies. Then there was a simple imitation, the success of Payne's celery compound. A nerve tonic prompted other manufacturers to offer celery bitters, celery malt compound, and celery crackers, as well as a product called celerina and celery bushy. I'd rather be shot. You don't understand my hatred of celery, but it goes way back. I hate celery. I hate it with my whole soul. Every time I've been forced to eat it, I hurl violently. I freaking hate it. Just no, I can't do it. Can't do it. Kill it with fire. Kill it with fire. Sorry. Implementation of the Pure Food and Drug Act forced many medicines off the market and compelled others to change their advertising, product content, or both. But the sale of patent proprietary medicines continued, including Dr. Warden's female pills for female diseases and troubles peculiar to the sex and women's delicate system. A product called Vin Vitae, or Wine of Life, or a tonic stimulant that listed among its ingredients port wine and cocoa leaves, the source of cocaine. Dr. McBain's blood pills, a blood cleanser and purifier, and Princess brand hair restorer and bust developer. Oh my god, boo, growing pills, for God's sake. Such products were sold by mail-order companies, Sears 1909, drug and other retail stores, and traveling salesmen. One of the latter was Snake Oil Johnny McMahon, great-grandfather of Fruit Inquiry magazine editor Tim Madigan, who sold his wares in New Jersey during the 1920s. Today, non-prescription medicines are more carefully regulated, but a new form of snake oil is on the rise. Broadly termed alternative medicine, it includes treatments ranging from dubious to the bizarre, from acupuncture to ozone therapy. Some of the new versions of snake oil, like aromatherapy oils and resurgent homeopathic remedies, which supposedly restore vital force, even come in bottles. They do. You have to be very careful when you are selecting supplements these days. I get the majority of mine from the vitamin shop, but thankfully, not everyone has this privilege, but since I do, I use it. I talked to my mom, who's been in healthcare for longer than a lot of people have been born. Been around way before you all. Just saying. And I usually rely very heavily on her for her opinions. Now, tonics, that is my thing, but herbal supplements and vitamins are hers. And I lean very heavily on her and her knowledge and experience when it comes to what I select in regards to the stuff I put in my body every day, as opposed to what they're advertising online. And I would suggest, if you got anybody who works in healthcare, before you go down the whole homeopathic medicine path, talk to that individual. Not all homeopathic medicine is bullshit, but there's a lot of it that is, and it really helps to have someone who actually knows their business help you navigate through some things. And on that, folks, we're going to go again and close out. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do can get removed from time to time. So if you folks would be so kind, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. Make sure you're also set up to receive notifications, because we're going to be back next Sunday for the next episode of the Snake Oil Salesman series. And we're going to start moving into more of our current day. Get into the history of the modern pseudoscience peddlers and what techniques they are using to help you keep you on your guard. And then we're going to get into some of the insane cure-alls that they have come up with these days. Also, as you know, on Saturday, the next episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. We don't want you to miss anything is the point, so make sure you're still set up for notifications. We do appreciate your time, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I will see you all later. Bye-bye now.